That's on my screen.
Okay, good. There we are. We are live. I got to pull up the Zoom meeting so I can see you. Hi, Lyndsay.
Hey, Jackie.
I'm so excited. Let me kill the music. Amber, this music was for you. It's a beautiful day. All right, so we are live today with our cooking, lean and green cooking demo. And my special guest today is Lyndsay Goldberg. And Lyndsay Goldberg is a client of Optavia that has been on program for how long, Lyndsay?
4 months.
4 months. And her coach is Kim Rizzi. And I've gotten to know Lyndsay a little bit better for the past 4 months because we've been co-coaching and we've all been working together and getting to know each other. And Lyndsay, I'm gonna let you tell them a little bit about your journey so far.
Yeah, sure. So I'm from Stamford, Connecticut. I'm 23. Just, graduated college a year or two ago. I'm not sure, actually. I forget. But
you lose track of time once you're out. That's it. You're done. That's
especially with the pandemic. And so, yes, I started the program 4 months ago. I started with my mom, and that's definitely helped keep me going. I think it was, a good idea for me just because I needed something that gave me a little structure. And so far, it's been great.
And so how do you feel? 4 months later, how do you feel? What's different about you?
It's funny because I started this program thinking, okay, my why was because I wanted to lose weight. But now I'm thinking about it, and it's really, I wanted to be more confident and secure in my own skin. And I realize I feel so much better now, and I'm, very close to my goal weight. So I'm excited, but, I just realized that my why has completely changed since starting, which is really great.
It sounds to me like your why got deeper, and I don't even think it changed. You did want to lose some weight.
Right.
I think along the way you realized it was about so much more than that weight, right?
Right. It's funny because everyone talks about, oh, like, what's your deep why? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just want to lose weight and be happy. But now that you're like further into it, you realize, okay, much deeper. Like, I think it's important to like be more, confident in your own skin. And this has definitely helped me.
Yeah, I've watched you evolve, and that smile was always there, but now it's there, and it is more confident. And there's a lot of things that comes with confidence. When the confidence comes, a lot of things change. And like you said, maybe you don't even know what that is until you're in the journey, and then you start to realize what the weight really meant to you.
Right.
So I love it. And I love that it's evolved. And I love that I've gotten to get to know you for all these months. And I love that I've watched you learn to cook and make fun recipes and be so excited about these recipes. So today, tell everybody what we're making and why you picked this recipe.
So we're making a Palmini lasagna. I'm not sure if anyone knows. For those who don't know what Palmini is, it's basically hearts of palm. And we got it in, yep, that's it, in the shape of lasagna sheets. It's actually on Shark Tank, which is one of my favorite shows. But it's kind of, you're eating this Palmini lasagna and you like don't realize you're eating, like, how could I be eating something healthy right now? And you are, which is really amazing.
That's kind of what all of the recipes, because we talk almost every other week now, and we talk about all the different recipes you were trying. And in the beginning, you were very cautious, and then you started to say, what made you start to come around to making these recipes?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I had no idea how to cook. I would, before this, boil a pot for pasta. Like I didn't know anything else. But I really wanted to find something that I could, make something enjoyable. And at first, you follow the plan to a T because you don't know what is a condiment, what isn't. All the books are like huge and could be intimidating. And as you go a few weeks in, you get the hang of it and you're like, oh, well, what can I replace this with this? And I mean, I used to, for this, I used to do a zucchini lasagna, and I loved it the first time I made it. And I honestly didn't think I would because I'd never tried zucchini before starting this plan. But then I saw this Palmini in the aisle and I was like, why am I not using this? It's the shape of lasagna. So I figured, okay, let me just figure out how to convert this and use this. And I've never gone back to the zucchini because it's so good.
It's a lot more work. It's a lot more work, the zucchini. So
Oh yeah.
I posted the recipe for the zucchini lasagna. It's actually called zucchini manigot. Italian girl, I say manigot. Zucchini manigot. But this is less arduous because there's no slicing the lasagna into the long sheets, and there's also no rolling every piece. So we actually cut out a lot of the time in the prep work by using the Palmini. And you called nutrition support to find out exactly how much Palmini we were allowed to have, right?
Yep. It should be roughly almost 2 cans, which is about 15.4 ounces.
Yeah. And so when I open this can, so we're gonna get ready and we're gonna start. And then when I'm preparing it, I would love for you to tell everybody some of the other recipes that you have found that you love, that are easy, and that you now have always in your repertoire of lean and green meals. But let's get started on this, and you can tell everybody, after I open this can of Palmini, what did you tell me to do with it?
Yep. So whenever you use, you don't just, there's more than just the lasagna sheets. You could get like Palmini, linguine, or angel hair. Whenever you do it, I always recommend rinsing it in a colander just to get out, since it comes in like a can, you want to get out the juices. So Jackie already rinsed it and prepped ahead of time because she's great. And then, so you always want to rinse it. And then with the linguine, you can always like boil that in water. But for the sheets, we don't have to do that because we're cooking it in the lasagna.
Yeah.
So Jackie,
and so there's that citric acid. Like when you buy something in a can, it has to have a preservative in it to make it stay in a can, right? Because it's a fresh food. Hearts of palm are a fresh food. That's what this is made.
Mm-hmm.
So when they put it in a can, they add citric acid and salt. And basically when you rinse it, you're just getting rid of, it's almost a sour flavor. You're just getting rid of that sour flavor. So if you've eaten palmini before and you haven't rinsed it, there's your tip of the day. Rinse it and it gets a little bit less bittery, right? Like it just has the taste of the hearts of palm, which is plain. Like it just.
Right. It's funny. I never even had hearts of palm before this.
And not many people do. It's something that comes in a salad that maybe you would push aside and be like, I don't know what this is, right? But it really is. It's dense. You know, you can see it's almost like the texture of a piece of cheese. Like this is a pretty dense thing to be eating, and it has a bite. And a lot of times when people replace pasta with spaghetti squash or with zucchini noodles, it loses that bite. And I actually don't cook my zucchini noodles. I actually just add stuff to them raw, and I let them just wilt a tiny bit because otherwise they lose all of the texture. I really do love hearts of palm in place of pasta because it has that bite to it. So I'll put this in, and now you tell me what to do next.
Okay, so should we start with the ricotta mixture?
Yes, that's a great idea. So I have my colander. I'm putting this to the side, and I have my mixing bowl, and I'm gonna grab the ricotta, and I'm gonna grab the Parmesan cheese. And what else do I put in there? Do I mix the spinach in here?
Yes. So you're going to want the ricotta, the Parmesan cheese, spinach. You could do, the recipe says frozen, but I'm sure you could do non-frozen.
Let me tell you why I like the frozen, because it's easier to throw it in a cup and it's already broken up. And listen, if you have fresh, obviously use the fresh, but I love frozen vegetables because they're picked at their peak and freshest, and then they're frozen. So they're maintaining their nutritional integrity when they are frozen. Same for fruit, especially if you're eating things that are out of season. I would prefer to eat them frozen than out of season and shipped from far away. Mm-hmm. Chopped fresh spinach in a cup is much easier to measure than doing it yourself. So
it's even for me, like I'm one person, so usually I'm making all these meals. It's just much easier if I could freeze all my food.
It really is. So I'm going to show you this kind of angle so that I'm going to be making these things and you guys can actually see what I'm doing. So let me grab a spoon and my measuring cup. And we have a cup and a half of the ricotta cheese.
Yep.
This up, and it's part skim. So this is from Trader Joe's. I usually buy store brand of any kind of cheese because store brand is just as good as name brand and it's much cheaper. So we're doing a cup and a half of this. And I was going to have this all measured and weighed out, but I figured if anybody's making it from home, it may be better if you can actually see how long this is taking. So we started cooking at 12:10, if anybody wants to see how long this recipe actually takes. So that's about a cup. And now I'm going to grab my half a cup measuring spoon instead of eyeballing it because it's a lean and green and every little bit counts. And this is why we weigh and measure. So every carb counts, every calorie counts. This program is designed scientifically, and we want to stick as close to it as possible in order to get the most predictable results. So that's my half a cup. So we have a cup and a half of the ricotta cheese. Now what do I have?
Now you're going to want a quarter cup of Parmesan.
Which how many tablespoons is that? Lyndsay just
4 tablespoons. I taught Jackie something new today.
And this is actually supposed to be reduced fat Parmesan. In my house, we don't use reduced fat Parmesan. So I'm going to put a little bit less than the 4 tablespoons and hope for the best. But if you are making this recipe and trying to follow 5-in-1 exactly as planned, you want to try and find reduced fat Parmesan cheese. Okay, I have that. Now, what about the egg?
Yep, 1 egg and a cup of frozen spinach.
Egg is mixed in. And so I see on the original recipe there's nutmeg, but on your recipe there isn't nutmeg. Talk to me about that for a minute.
Yeah, so I'm no chef. I don't have all the seasonings, in my house. And the first time I made it, I didn't make it with nutmeg, and I love it. So I don't think you need it, but if you have it, you could put it in.
So I am not a chef, and I actually don't know what nutmeg does, but I'm going to go ahead and throw the nutmeg in. It says a pinch for me is literally just going to be that, a tiny little shake. This is my dollar store nutmeg. And then it calls for 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. And obviously that's also a pinch. And I use kosher salt for everything because I can see it and I can feel it and I know exactly what it is. So I'm literally just going to do that and throw it in there as my 1/8 of a teaspoon. And so now I'm going to mix this together. And I have a little bit of chunks. Let me move this back.
One more thing. You're going to want half a cup of mozzarella shredded.
Oh, right. That's right. Okay. Here I am again.
So you don't have to put in half a cup. I guess you could put however much you want. Sometimes I like to have a lot of extra cheese to put on top. Yep. So just as long as it nets to the total number, you're fine.
Right, because the full recipe is a cup and a half. So we're going to use half a cup in here. And what Lyndsay's saying is we're going to throw an entire cup on top when we're done. So I love that idea, and I'm going to stick with you. And, this is actually how I make my manigot filling and my lasagna filling if I was making regular pasta. This is exactly what I would have put in it. I probably would have thrown a little parsley in here, but not going to lie, but I'm going to leave it. And obviously it's probably not in here because it's just adding another condiment. So we're just going to trust the recipe and trust our girl Lyndsay here. So now this mixture is made and it actually looks amazing. I'm going to taste it. So cheesy and so good. Oh my God, that was really good.
I know. It's very tempting before putting it in the oven to not pick.
And listen, if you pick, you just take it from your lean and green. You really just say, I call those BLTs, bites, licks, and tastes. So if I sincerely wanted to do that, I probably would measure it out. And I would say, okay, I literally had a teaspoon of this. And so I have to be conscious of that later. Because BLTs do add up. I actually just had a coaching call this morning with someone and she's going to work this week on counting all the BLTs because I think the BLTs are causing her progress to slow down a little bit. And while everything seems to be on plan, when you put them all together, you may be coming off of plan a little bit.
Yep. So Jackie, the next thing, should we, layer the bottom of the pan?
Sounds great. All right, so I'm going to lower this down so you can see it again. And this is my pan. Do you think I should spray this, Lindsay?
Yes, you should spray it. So then I forget to spray everything. So I have had a lot of recipes come out, not so good the first time, but practice makes perfect.
All right, so that's sprayed. I use coconut oil spray on purpose. Number one, it cooks at a high heat. And number two, it comes out white because coconut oil in its room temperature form is thicker. And so I like it because you can actually see how much you're spraying and you don't need to overspray for no reason. So now I'm going to grab my colander and I'm really going to just start to layer this down and make one full layer. Is there any science to like how you do this?
I mean, you could do it however you want. Your pan looks like a little smaller than mine. So I just, layer as much as you can on the bottom, but then we'll do another layer after the ricotta mixture.
So what I have learned from cooking a lot of stuff is that I'm going to keep everything going in the same direction because when I cut into it, it's easier. So normally I just need it all fit, but I'm going to try and keep them all going in the same direction. And we're using just about 2 full cans. So I'm going to make sure that I really cover the whole bottom. And the good part is if I don't use all of this, I can actually just have a salad with dinner.
That's what I'm doing.
So, I don't know that I'm going to use 2 full cans. So the recipe calls for that, and that would be the complete lean green. But for now, I'm going to just do this one layer. And so now you would say, put in the layer of this cheese mixture.
Yes. And just be careful when you have like a salad today. I guess this is a lean, not like a leaner or leanest. So I like to use like the Walden Farms dressings because they're 0 calories, 0 fat, 0 everything.
I love that tip because you've already used. So what does this say it counts as? This counts as.
I think it's a lean.
Lean, and then does it say like all the? I actually don't have the printout at the top. It usually says a lean, 3 greens, and then how many condiments and healthy fats. But I would imagine we've used them all.
So we actually are not using 3 condiments. If you use the reduced fat Parmesan, it's only 1 condiment, except, I've never used the nutmeg or salt. So actually, I guess those are condiments, but.
Right. Okay, well, that's good to know. So, and really the lesson is you just have to make sure that you know what you're eating and you're lean and green because just like Lindsay said, what a great point is even if I do have a salad, I have to watch that salad. Mm-hmm. They're have to eat it pretty dry, maybe just some vinegar because I used all my other stuff. What do you have left to put on the salad?
For me, I'd rather like save my condiments than like have a meal that, gives me healthy fats. Like because I love to use, cheese as my protein.
All right. So listen, I'm going to tell you a story right here, girlfriend. I am taking some of this out and I'm going to put another layer of Palmini because I definitely have enough here for 3 layers of Palmini and I'm going to make
a nice lasagna.
Yeah. So I am going to go ahead and I'm not going to make sure I cover every ounce of this one, but I am going to put this other layer. And so now it'll be 3 full layers and I still may have some Palmini, but so this is why I think it's so great for us to come on and do these kind of demos because everybody's different. Everybody's utensils at home are different. Like I'm using a Pyrex that's different than the pan that you use. You were good with 1 layer. Maybe I want 2 or 3 layers. As long as you know what you have to work with. I mean, look at that. That's perfect. That's a perfect second layer. And now I'm going to go ahead and take the rest of this.
Now I wish I used a smaller pan. This looks good.
See? Now you learn because there's another layer. And I learned that with the spaghetti squash. There's a turkey sausage spaghetti squash lasagna that is from Sandy's Kitchen. If anybody wants to go check that one out, it's very similar to this, except it doesn't have the spinach, but the mixture is exactly the same. And it has turkey meat crumbled in it. So it's like a meatless lasagna, and you're layering it with the spaghetti squash. So I do 2 layers of that with the spaghetti squash because I like to have layers, and I realized that when I was making that. So this is actually perfect.
And you know that for this, you also could take out some of the cheese and put in like a protein if you want, or like a meat if you want to. I know some people like break up the Trader Joe's turkey meatballs and take out some cheese and put that in, you know, the lasagna, so it gets a little more meaty.
That sounds perfect. So now I'm just going to, and that's what I think they do in the spaghetti squash lasagna recipe on Sandy's Kitchen. They use a little bit of both. But let me tell you something. I love cheese, so I am very excited about this. If you are using cheese as your lean green often, just realize that it has a lot more sodium than a clean protein, like a clean animal protein. So if you got on the scale the day after you ate something like this as your lean, you may see it up a little bit. Does that mean you gained weight? No, it means that you probably are carrying a little bit of the sodium that was in the cheese in your body. Okay, so I do still have a little bit left over, which I am very excited about because that means I used the exact amount of palmini. So this is what I have left.
Perfect.
Just under, and I'll weigh this for everybody and I'll let you know. You know what? Let me throw it on the scale now so I can see how much is left. And so here's my wonderful digital scale. And I'm just going to throw this here. And it's still 2 ounces. So there's 2 ounces left over of this palmini. So, if you're trying to be exact, like I want everybody to know, like I just made 2 layers in the Pyrex and I have 2 ounces left over. It looks so good.
I know, and I can't wait to put the rayos and the mozzarella on.
All right, so that's the next step, right? So,
yep. So it's a cup of rayo, or well, any sauce that you use, I guess. But rayos.
We love rayos. Me and my girl, we love rayos. I talked about rayos last time. And tomato basil is actually my favorite. It has so much more of an authentic home cooked taste than even just the regular marinara. This is my favorite. You can't get this everywhere, but when I find it, I love it. Trader Joe's actually has a really good tomato sauce too. They have a 3 cheese pomodoro that I love. Cheesy, you would like it, Lyndsay, and it counts as the same thing as this.
Really? Yes. Ooh, I'm gonna get that next.
Yes. All right. So how much of this are we having? 1 cup? Let me look. Yes. Okay. So we have 1 cup of the rayos, and I'm pouring this in, and I'm really just smoothing this out on top.
Yep. And sometimes if I don't, have as much spinach or palmini in the lasagna, you could do a little more sauce if you want. Yep. And then just spray that or spread that around.
Yep. Because, and look, I'm improvising with my spoon here, but this is how I'm putting it around. I don't want it dirty. I hate cleaning the kitchen. It's a little something about me. If my husband's watching, he'll tell you he knows I hate cleaning the kitchen, and that's why he cleans the kitchen. So I cook, he cleans. But he has been cooking a lot of our lean greens lately. So I am so ridiculously appreciative of that too, because listen, when you have a support system at home, we could talk a little bit about your mom here too. When you have a support system at home that you can trust to also make the food that is going to serve you in the diet that you're choosing to follow, it really helps because you're not alone. And how many people say, but I don't want to cook everything for everybody, and I don't have time for me, and they're not going to eat this. So talk to me a little bit about your mom, because you're doing this alongside your mom and you don't live together, but how you are together. So talk a little bit about that I'm going to put the rest of the mozzarella on top. So it's 1 cup, and I'm just going to spread that on top while Lyndsay shares a little bit about her and the dynamic with her mom doing this.
Yeah. So this has been, I can't imagine not doing this with my mom. I think having this Facebook group, I probably could do it without her, but doing it with her makes this so much better. We're on this same journey, doing the same thing. And it really keeps you going. I know that, and I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way, but after a certain point in time, you kind of hit a block, okay, like, how am I supposed to keep going? And, when I hit that point a few months ago, I had my mom, I had the idea, I knew we were meeting with each other soon and going to see each other again. And we really just wanted to, see each other, show each other, how well we're doing. And then now that we're actually together, I'm at my mom's in Florida, you know, I do the same thing, Jackie. I
And
cook I cook and my mom cleans, but I'm not a clean cooker, so I feel very bad, but I'll get there one day. But it's so
or
nice.
not, because I'm 20 years your senior and I am not there. Not there.
Yeah, but I think if I was cleaning after myself, I'd probably be more mindful of it. But
That is true. That is definitely true. You are more conscious of it. Mother-in-law is watching. Sarah does the same thing. Sarah's the messiest cook that ever existed. She has an Albie to clean up after her, so she really doesn't care. Michael will tell me I made too much of a mess. So, all right.
It's so nice. And like me and my mom, we will like show each other fueling hacks and everything. And it like keeps you going and keeps all the ideas, like new things that you find. Like every fueling, you really could find a way to make it where you like it for most of them. Some of them, maybe not, but like 95% of them, there's a way that you'll like it. You just need to, think of ideas and bounce ideas off of people. And that's why the group is so helpful for me too.
Yeah, I love the group and I love that you're sharing. And listen, I think your mom might have faltered on her journey if you weren't there to say, no, mom, try this. And no, mom, I made this. And what do you mean you can't have lasagna? I made this Palmini lasagna. And you are inspiring her to get out of her comfort zone. And listen, she's been in that zone for a long time. She's cooked the same things for the same years and eaten the same things for a long time. And you're bringing this fresh energy that she's never even seen in you. Like, what do you mean you're cooking? Like, what do you mean? And it's so inspiring. It really is. You're inspiring a lot of people without even realize that you're inspiring them. And I love that you guys are back together now and you can do it together and you can really, because showing her and teaching her when you leave, she's going to be doing a lot of these things that she wasn't going to do by herself.
I know. I'm leaving in a couple of weeks and I'm like, okay, mom, you need to help me make this because I want you to make it when I'm not here. And she's like, can you write a list of everything I should get at the grocery store when you're not here to tell me? So it's nice that
sounds like a coach to me. And we've had this discussion too. And I know that that's something that you are open to. And if people come along and want you to share your experience, you would be excited to coach them. And so, and on that note, you're in your 20s. And I think one of the biggest discussions we had was, I don't know that there's a lot of people in their 20s that would need something like this. And I said to you, well, did you need something like this? And did you think you needed something like this? So if you had one piece of advice to women in their 20s that may think they don't need something like this, or may not even consider this because it seems like such like a plan, what would you say?
Honestly, for me, I needed something like this because when you start your career in your 20s, you're focusing on your career and your life, and it's hard to really balance that out and a healthy lifestyle. And that's what was slipping away from me. And this has helped me where I only have to think about this one meal. And now if I'm stuck in meetings all day, I can, have a shake. I can have a bar. I don't have to think. And that's what I really needed in order to, get to the point where I need. And now that I've like taken away those habits, like making the lean and green meals, I feel like afterwards I will be able to manage a healthier lifestyle better. But, in the beginning, you kind of need this structure and plan to, slowly learn better habits.
Yeah. And it's so powerful. It's so powerful. Like, I almost feel like if everyone found this in their 20s, they never would have had to diet through their 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s for anybody that's out there, right? Like, what better time than to start paying attention to the habits that aren't really that strong yet, right? Like you recognize some unhealthy habits, now you've already fixed them. And you've done it in such a way that you'll never go back. You'll never go back to those habits because you have embraced all of it. You've embraced all the pieces of the program and the habit change, and you've learned to cook for yourself, and you've learned why you're fueling your body. And I really think you've given yourself the biggest gift that you could ever give yourself. As a woman in her 40s to a woman in her 20s, I wish I was you, your shoes, with the world ahead of me, and armed with this knowledge.
Right. And like, to me, I do want simple recipes and stuff like that, but I also want recipes where I could find something that was healthy that I would enjoy so that I would keep on doing this, after this plan. And so, lasagna is just one of them, which I still can't believe it's something healthy that I'm eating, but it is.
Well, go get it. So mine's going in the oven and Lyndsay's is coming out of the oven.
Okay. So just before I show you, I left it in maybe a tad long on broil, but my family likes it very dark. So, okay. So here.
Okay. That's okay. Oh, that's a nice crunchy top. Listen, in my house growing up, we fought over that crunchy top. We called it the burnt piece. I want the burnt piece.
I love it too, but I had to tell our viewers, just in case they didn't like that, you don't have to leave it in that long.
And listen, and my tip also is that layer of mozzarella on the top, you can wait till the last 10 minutes to put that on there. And that's how I always made like my lasagna or baked ziti or even the spaghetti squash casserole that I was telling you guys about. Sometimes I will wait and put the mozzarella on at the end because then I don't worry that it's going to get crispy. But like I said, we like it crispy. So we're in the same boat. Show us again. Show us again. There it is. There.
I think I'm going to have my lean and green early now.
Yeah. And listen, I love having my lean and green at lunch. I really do. And I was talking to a client this morning. If you're having a really hungry day, have your lean and green early, and you will see that hungry day kind of goes away because you satisfy it with that fullness of the lean and green meal.
And you get so much in your lean and green. Like you could honestly have to, cut your lean and green in half and have it earlier in the day, and you won't go hungry like all day. I just prefer it this way because I only want to think about one meal. But if I were hungry, I could split it.
And if you do split it, make sure that you have a fueling with one of the split parts of it so that you're still getting in all 5 fuelings and then your one lean and green. And so listen, I know that you have a ton of other recipes that you love, and I'm going to ask you to share those in the comments. But the cauliflower mac and cheese is one of them. The buffalo chicken dip, right?
Yes.
So, I think it's really good to know like how someone in their 20s would play around with lean and greens and what they would enjoy, right? Maybe some people out there have daughters or have friends or have siblings that are young women coming up and working, and maybe they would enjoy the same kind of lean and greens as you. So when we get into the comments, I would love for you to share a few of your other favorite recipes with everybody. And that took, by the time I started and by the time I put it in the oven, it was about 15 minutes of the layering and the mixing, and that's it. And now it's in the oven for 25 minutes, and we're going to post the picture of Lyndsay's out of the oven, and we're going to post the picture of mine out of the oven. But we are at our half hour, and I just want to say thank you. And this was wonderful, and I always love hanging out with you and getting to hear from you and talking to you. Tell your mom I said hi.
I will. Thank you for having me on this and sharing my lasagna.
And I'll let you know if my kids like it, because that's our little bet. Lyndsay's like, you're going to see if the kids like it because they're going to like it. And
we're going to force them to have it.
I will let you know if they like it, and we'll go from there. And we'll see everybody next week. But thank you so much. Thank you, Lyndsay.
Yes, of course. Bye.
Bye.